Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to my channel. Many years ago, when I went to the mental hospital, I often wondered about this thing called addiction. What is happening to people that they ingest certain substances and have fun, but eventually they become zombies for it? They're stuck in the hospital, they're locked in by this thing that they take, that no matter how much you speak to them, they can no longer help themselves. I used to actually say addiction is like the real devil. And addiction is a spirit, because it's like it takes over. A person just cannot control themselves. Anyway, so I started asking, especially of weed, because in my mind I thought alcohol, for example, is manufactured. So there's some chemicals that are put together so that people drink and have fun, but you end up getting addicted to it. So in my mind, I thought I could understand how that worked. But what I didn't get was the plant. How is there a plant that is naturally occurring, created by God, that makes people high? That's one. Number two, how did the ancient people figure out that there's a plant that can make us high? How did they discover that it's not just a plant that makes us high, but you have to burn it and then inhale the smoke? Under what circumstances did they inhale the smoke? Did they burn some grass somewhere and then started getting high? But also, how did they know that that was the one, and how did that information spread around the world? That's when my brain was working like in overdrive. So I went in and tried to understand. Went to Mr. Google and asked, what are these plants that make people high? And Google came back with a name. I was like, what? You mean there's actually a name? And it was psychedelics. There were psychedelic plants. I thought, okay, so if there are plants that are psychedelic and they have a real name, why do they exist? Why do we have psychedelic plants? When I asked the question, this is what I found. So let's first look at the definitions that I uncovered. Wikipedia said psychedelic plants are plants that people ingest in the form of simple or complex preparations in order to affect the mind or alter the state of consciousness. Psychoactivity may include sedative, stimulant, euphoric, deliriant, and hallucinogenic effects. That means you're delirious, you're hallucinating, it makes you nice, calm, and mellow, or it stimulates you, or it makes you euphoric. That means you really are living in this bubble of some world that seems like it's unreal and beautiful. There are hundreds of psychoactive plants known, but some popular examples include Arabic coffee. And this, I have always said, coffee. We love coffee. We love coffee. But when I drink coffee, I feel myself, it's kind of like I'm going crazy sometimes. And I say, I want to hold on to that feeling, because when that feeling goes, then now we start to depend on the coffee. Anyway, nicotine, which is tobacco, cannabis, that is the weed. Let me see. Oh yes, and there are shrooms, mushrooms. So those are some of the examples of the main psychedelic plants, and they have been used for millennia in rituals, medicinally, therapeutically, and also for social engagement. But the social, cultural, and economic significance of these psychoactive plants is enormous. Very Well Mind says psychedelic drugs are a group of substances that change or enhance sensory perceptions, thought processes, and energy levels. These substances are also known as hallucinogenic drugs, or simply hallucinogens, because they make you hallucinate. These come in different forms, ranging from chemicals such as LSD to plants such as poppy and weed, and so on and so forth. Wikipedia, on the other hand, says psychedelics are a subclass of hallucinogenic drugs whose primary effect is to trigger non-ordinary mental states known as psychedelic experiences or psychedelic trips, and a perceived expansion of consciousness. And I want us to really underline that, the expansion of consciousness, because that means that we go beyond the consciousness that we know. We go into beyond the realm. The consciousness is really just the realm that we know. So you go to an expanded state or an expanded realm. So learning this really excited me, because I was like, I'm on to something here. So why did the Creator put plants on earth that are supposed to help alter our state of consciousness? Why are there plants that are supposed to make us supposedly see things, hallucinate? And I also looked up the meaning of the word hallucinate, which is basically to perceive or see things that are not there in the present, like the things are not real. So why would the Creator give us plants that make us see things that are not there? Why? But yet we are also saying that they alter our state of consciousness. That means what we are seeing is not physical. It's not in the physical realm. It's not things that we can see. And that is the altered state of consciousness. You go to another state of consciousness, and that's why you're able to see what people ordinarily do not perceive, hence hallucination. And it reminded me of a story, because then I was like, what did our ancient relatives do? Because they are the ones who, they must have used these plants. They used a lot of plants for medicine and so on. Then it came to me, when I was about 6 years old, we watched a documentary on a tribe called the Baka people. And it was interesting. They lived in a forest, and in one of the scenes, there was this gentleman who was becoming a nuisance in the village, and they realized he had a problem. So they invited the traditional healer to come and do some work on him. I remember the healer so first of all, he burns some plants and covers this gentleman with them so that he inhales the smoke. And he seems to get in a trance. He seems to be high. I think the healer also ingested some of this smoke, and he started dancing. He was wearing like something that had like sisal all over it, and so he starts dancing, or I think he's the one who was dancing. Maybe it was even a spirit, I don't know. Anyway, there's this dancing, it's tall like a human being, so it's dancing, going around, spinning. There's a fire, the village people are surrounding them, and they're playing drums and singing. So he goes into this state. The healer sort of says certain words. I remember he even stepped on his back. And then when he was done, this gentleman falls asleep and sleeps for a day or two. That's what stuck with me. And when he wakes up, he was fine. So now that I know that these are psychedelics and I know what they do, I'm thinking, what was he doing? He was healing, because these are the properties of the functions of these psychedelics. Healing, enlightenment, clarity, creativity, enhancing creativity, and bringing about realignment. So how does this even work? What we're literally seeing is that this traditional healer took this person from their state of consciousness into a state of unconsciousness. And in that state of unconsciousness, which is really another realm, which is really the spirit realm, the healer, was able to see what is happening to this person on a spirit level. Remember, we are spirit beings having a spiritual experience in a physical world. So he literally goes into this space with this person, checks to see on a spirit level what is happening, that we are manifesting, or we are seeing its manifestation in the physical. What is happening? So when he sees it, it's either that the person is out of alignment, and so he will put them back in alignment with their higher self, or sometimes this person is gifted, and that gift needs to now come to fruition. And between the gift and what the person has been, the conditioning the person has been living in, like all of us, there is a misalignment as well. So they put the person back in line with what is supposed to be their gift, so that when they come back to the physical world, they're now able to do what they're supposed to. And normally when that would happen it normally would manifest with young teenagers. then the healer knows that now he has to take this child under his wing or her wing and start guiding them to understand their gifts, to learn how to use them, to hone them in and control them so that the gift does not mess with them. So then I was like, okay, so those of us who are using these substances as recreation, also because they have been taken over by commercialization and industrialization, that we have started taking them and repackaging them. First, they're ruled as now substances that should not be used by people and abused, but they're now being sold. There's a whole industry that is selling the drugs, that is extracting, for example, for cocaine. I think it's cocaine, or opium, that is extracted from the poppy, anyway, from that plant, that they're now making all kinds of illicit drugs from it and selling it. So when people take these, they feel high. They go on mini trips, not too far away, but far enough for you to feel like, oh, it was so nice. You take ecstasy and everything, like the world is sort of beautiful. Please note, I've not taken any of it, but I'm imagining that's what it's like. I'm too much of a coward to, try these substances. But when people take things like ecstasy, the world is so beautiful. Everything, the colors are heightened, sounds. If people have taken it, I know one person who took it once and he was kind of smiling in a weird way, and I can imagine for him it's like, oh wow, everything is so nice. So it's a nice trip, and then people want to use it every now and again, especially when they're with friends or they're going out to drink, in the club already, that there are all kinds of beautiful colors and music is loud, and so everything just becomes that much more exciting and beautiful. So they use it. But we have to understand that in abusing or misusing these drugs, we are literally going into altered states of consciousness. We are literally going into different realms. We are literally going into the spirit world. The difference here is that with a traditional healer, you have somebody to hold your hand. You have somebody who is supporting you in that process, somebody who is more aware and knows what they're doing, so that when they notice on a spirit level that things are getting out of hand, they can bring you back. Or when they have finished whatever it is that they're doing on that trip, they can help you come back safely. What does coming back safely mean? You've been in a spirit realm. There are other entities there, maybe other entities that have even supported you to bring balance. And remember, balance is good and bad, positive and negative. So when you're doing this balance, you want to make sure that this person comes back without bringing those entities back to them in the physical, where now we kind of lose connection on a conscious level, we lose connection with the other side, so that we think that we are only being led by the physical world. So a person who's doing weed, especially the ones who are doing it, let's say in the night, you've gone out, you've drank some alcohol, so you're already inhibited, you're inebriated, you are not 100% in control or in charge of your faculties. Then you take weed, which then really makes you high. Now you've literally gone to a higher place. When we say we are high, we have gone to a higher place. We're here, but we are tapping into the other side. So what they do is, depending on your state of being, when you start consuming these things, let's say you've got some low-key anxiety issues, you've got some low-key sadness, you've got some low-key fear of certain things when you take these substances. That is what you're going to connect with on the other side, because that is your state going in. It's like if there were levels. If you come in at a low level, then you're going to only deal with the entities and the emotions and the beings that are on the first floor. If you go in on the 7th floor, then you're going to deal with 7th floor type things. They're lighter, they're happier, they're more like they've been going step by step, and they're at a higher level. So if you're coming in with some of these this emotional baggage, that is where you're going to stop on the other side, and that is what you're going to attract. So you're not supported, you're carrying some low vibration, and now you're inviting those entities in. And when you're tired, you're going to go and sleep. When you wake up in the morning, what you don't realize is that you literally opened yourself up without control. These entities came. If they're beings that want to be on earth and need a host body, now you are perfect. Even with alcohol, now you're perfect because they come and they latch on. You come back home you come back home drunk, you come back home high, you cannot wait to get into bed. You sleep. You wake up in the morning, everything seems fine. But at a certain time of the day, these entities start to drive you to go and do that which you did for them to come in, so that more entities come in, but also so that they start to take charge and control of your body. As above, so below. Spirit being, physical experience. What the spirit then wants to do is take control. Once they have taken control in the physical world, that is deemed addiction. That is why my mind used to say addicts have a spirit that's controlling them. Because before they take the substance that makes them high, when they're sober, something is driving them to go and drink. Something is keeping them there. Something is making them drink up to the point of no return. When they hit the point of no return is now where we see them and we're like, why don't you? Why aren't you? Why, what kind of, you're useless. And they do not know how to say, I don't know how to stop it. When they wake up in the morning and they're sober again, all they remember is your words. All you remember, you who has been speaking to the person who's consuming this substance, all you remember is that you've been saying the same thing. Now for them, the night before they were receiving your information differently, in the morning they're receiving it differently, but when they look at the culmination of their circumstance, they are just one big mess, and they are a hopeless mess, and they don't know how to fix themselves. Yet, once they go into these spirit realms, more and more entities take on. That's why they start to get worse. That's why they need then a little bit of the substance to connect, because there's so many of these entities and they've taken such control that the trigger for them is make the person go and drink, and then we are fully in charge. Just make the person open the door for us a little bit and we're fully in charge. So they need less substance to get completely out of control, to get completely intoxicated, to get completely inebriated. So we have to understand that this is how these drugs take over and control us. And you find that there are also certain types of people that are more susceptible to falling into this trap. When we talk about people who, maybe their genes, maybe this, that, and the other, if you go back in and look at these people and try and understand them as people, there will be certain traits that they carry. They will be your artists, your creatives. They will be people who don't seem to want to conform to structure. They will be people who seem to want to stay awake at night. So in the sleep chronotype, they will be the night owls. They are more alert in the evenings into the night. They will work more at that time. And you find that these people will be in spaces where they create and they don't need to create with other people. So as the world sleeps, they love that time because then they can really get into the zone and they tap into the spirit realms or the other spaces of consciousness while the world is quiet. So you will find a lot of people in the IT spaces. You find a lot of people who are designers, people who are poets, musicians. They'll say, I just got this inspiration in the middle of the night and I wrote this beautiful song and poem. Yet during the day when you ask them to do it again, they just can't. Why? Because they're unable to tap into that space. Now, what happens also is that so these people are already on a certain level open, and I'll do a whole video on them specifically. They're already open. So once they take this weed, they hit the spot a lot faster, and then they get addicted a lot faster. So we have to just be mindful of that. But basically, when we are abusing these substances, we need to understand. If you look at people like Rastafarians, so we've seen that, or we need to understand that these drugs, these psychedelics, had a purpose. and we've seen that. For whom they had a purpose, some of it is enlightenment, some of it is clarity, and so on and so forth. And this clarity and enlightenment is not for the individual. It is for the collective. It is for the community. They need to know, what is the season going to be like ahead? Is there going to be a lot of drought so that we can advise people to store more food? Is there going to be a lot of rain so that we advise people on how to plant so that they don't lose their crop? Is there going to be disease? Are we going to be under attack? Are there going to be locusts? Things like this is how the shaman, the traditional healer, or what we today choose to call the witchcraft, which is a derogatory term and a term to keep us away from that wisdom. What they would do is, when they receive these from the ancestors, when they receive things from the guides, from the community spiritual guiding system, they would then serve the community. Today, we are like sheep whose shepherd has gone for a walk. We just go in any direction, knock any tree. We're just a mess. That is why we are suffering all this mental unwellness, because we have lost connection to that guiding system and to our compass, to our true north. So Rastafarians, the true Rastafarians, not these ones who just do dreadlocks and smoke weed and think that they're it. The true Rastafarians, although to qualify, there is something that drives these other ones, the ones we're calling wannabe Rastas, there's something that drives them there, but there's no guidance. So the true enlightened Rastas are going to go smoke that weed, knowing that they're going to go on a trip, and in that trip there's certain information that they need to carry and bring back to serve them, so that they are able to serve the community, but also to serve the community generally. So this is the difference. And I personally want to go so badly on one of these trips. It's called Ayahuasca. I found one day a link. I was actually drawn to a YouTube video about that was talking about mushrooms and psychedelics, and I thought, okay, it was weird that I was listening, because I have never, apart from that time when I was trying to understand that, which is almost like, this was in 2017, so many years back. Apart from that time, I never ever went back to look for information on psychedelics, because there was no need to. But on this day, I wanted to watch something, and I was feeling drawn to this particular video. It just popped up in my YouTube as the next video. When I opened my YouTube, it was there, and I felt pulled to click on it, but the topic did not speak to me at all, so I didn't want to. But because the pull was so strong, I went ahead and I did. And oh my word, it was so powerful. It was a video about a guy, well, I'll put the link in the description, but basically it was talking about people who went on an ayahuasca trip. Is it called ayahuasca? Yes. They went to do ayahuasca in Costa Rica, and they'd been struggling with different things. Interestingly, when they went, they wanted to do it, so they went, kind of looked around to see what they could do. They found this place and they went together, and it was so amazing that when they came back, one particular guy, his name is Gerry, like me, when he came back, his life was so transformed that he was led to open a retreat also in Costa Rica. His company is called Rhythmia. So the website is www.rhythmia.com, I think, and his name is Gerry. I was so drawn to it, and I just know that I am going to go and do a retreat there. That year, which was last year actually, when I found him, I was so moved that I wanted to go and do it, and so many synchronicities started popping up. I sent them an email just saying, I love you guys so much. I love you and what you're doing. And so they said, oh, we have a retreat that's happening soon and would like you to come and be a part of it. They gave me a big fat discount, and I was like, oh my God, the universe is speaking. I knew that I could find that money, or that the universe was going to bring me that money if I stayed on course, because so many things started happening. There are two people that I absolutely love. One guy I called Wolverine. I've called him Wolverine for so long I don't remember his name. He's okay, I forget. But so there's him, and then there's another lady called Christina something. Anyway, I'll put their names somewhere. I love them. And it turned out that time when I was being invited, they were going to speak at the retreat. They were going to be at the retreat. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to meet these people that I idolize and love so much, and they have taught me so much on this spiritual journey. But somewhere along the way, I allowed my scarcity mentality mind to take over, and I started thinking, oh my God, where am I going to find 20 million shillings? So I did not go, but I know in my heart of hearts that I want to do it. And guess what? As I'm recording this video, there is literally an ayahuasca retreat going to happen in Kampala. And when I saw it, I freaked out because I felt like I'm being called, but I want to go to Rhythmia, because I just feel in my heart that I was drawn there. It's the right place. It's perfect for me for so many reasons. And I also feel like I will feel more protected. I don't know. And listen, it's important. It's very, very important when you go for these things that it is right with your spirit. Because you can just walk into a place, oh, let me just go and see, and then things sort of go off because maybe you're not ready. Being right with your spirit means you're also ready. And that means when you go into that space, you will not start freaking out. Yes, you may be a bit scared and anxious. That's normal. But to actually freak out means to go into that space in a low vibrational state, and now you have low vibrational entities and so on and so forth. So I hope this video is helpful in our understanding of psychedelics, things like weed, mushrooms, cigarettes, tobacco, coffee, something as simple as coffee is actually very powerful. And I'll do another video on coffee and how the ancient people used coffee, the spiritual aspect of coffee in ceremonies that will actually excite you. So look forward to more videos that I'm going to put out on this. Thank you.